You think you know some people, and well, particularly Matt Johnson, who's a very, very good friend of ours, not just a colleague here. And you know, Matt, I was really taken aback, mate, that to read of you recently and hear about your battle with depression. And
yeah, we both were because you know, we know you as Matt. You're always
happy-go-lucky,
happy, everybody
smiling.
loves you. You're in here in our hub. That's how the viewers know you too. And so behind all that, I think we're all quite shocked to learn that that wasn't always the case, and you've been battling this depression.
Why do you want to talk about this for, first of all, Matt?
Why do I?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel as if it's a part of my life that I need to share. I needed to share it. I was an ambassador for Mind, the mental health charity, and people kept asking me why. And I had to say, I had to come clean. I would have been a massive hypocrite if I didn't come clean about it, because I'm encouraging people to talk about their problems, their mental health problems, and if I didn't, who is, really? And since I have, and it was a couple of weeks ago now, my article in Now magazine came out, it was probably the most cathartic experience I ever went through, because I never had therapy, and I never went to see anybody or talk to anybody about it. This is the first period of my life where I've...
Well, you know, we've got the psychologist, should point out, the psychologist Emma Kenny sitting beside Matt, and she's ready just to interject with various things and various signposts and trigger points that may be affecting a lot of people out there.
I was going to say, do you even find it now hard to use that word, mental health? I have a mental health problem, because there is still this stigma which you say you want to try and help break down.
Absolutely, we want to smash this stigma to bits, because mental health is such a big spectrum of different illnesses. And for me, it was a case of, in my 20s, before this morning, before all this happened for me, I was depressed and I was very down, and I let things get out of control.
Do you know why?
I still, to this day, it's probably lots of reasons. I was in an accident in my early 20s where I shattered my cheekbone and broke my jaw and my nose, and it was quite a worrying experience for me. I was scared for the first time in my life. I thought I was invincible, Eamon. We've all been there, early 20s, you know, going for it. I was in a band and stuff. And
you were a party boy, weren't you?
I was the party animal. I still am a bit, you know, but I was just giving everything 110%. And the shatter back down to earth, it kind of really brought me down, and I didn't recover from it, because all I did was lock it up and just, you know, just
So did you lose your confidence, do you think?
Yeah,
was that
massively.
The start of that downward spiral?
That was the weirdest thing for me. Self-esteem I started to lose, because I lost work because I couldn't go to work. You find it very hard to get up in the mornings, and then you have no money, and then money's a big factor in anybody's life, and so confidence, self-esteem, self-respect was out of the window for a good period of my 20s, which was very difficult.
One of the things he started to do, Emma, early on, was because he was depressed and he wasn't going out and he wasn't earning money, he used plastic, and he started borrowing money and spending money that he really had no chance of paying back.
Yeah, it's a really common feature, because one of the things that a lot of people with depression want to do is to act to the rest of the world like they're okay, and that's the problem. Many people are very, very, very ill, and yet for the rest of the people around them, they're surprised when that person maybe does something like takes their own life or tries to commit suicide, because actually they've been suffering for a very long time in silence. Using credit cards is a way of making sure that you look like you're being able to eat, dress yourself, go out, and it also means that you can pretend to yourself. You can say, I am functioning because I'm surviving.
And were you pretending to yourself?
Absolutely, yeah, because it was only me going through this. My girlfriend at the time, Alex, knew. She was the only person. I depended so much on her, and I didn't want to spoil anybody's face. I just kind of wanted to go out there and have these holidays and do all the things, buy stuff. I was buying superficial things to make me happy. I was just covering it all up.
You see, I think people will look at that picture there, and you say, my girlfriend Alex, and they'll say, I know that girl. And that is Alex Jones, we should point out, who you will now know as a BBC presenter and co-host of The One Show. Did this lead to you two breaking up?
It was a major factor, yeah. We were together for nearly 6 years, and for 4 years of that, I was in the midst of this darkness, this horrible dark cloud, and it put pressure on us a lot of the time. And I was struggling to catch up. I got off the world, essentially, but you never do. I just kind of hid away and buried my head in the sand, and it spiraled out of control, and to a point where we did break up, and it was a major factor, yeah. And then that's when I got worse. That's when the turning point for me got really dark.
And how dark did it get, Matt?
Very dark, very. It turned to booze, alcohol, which everybody really does. I think a lot of people on Twitter say that happens. and I drink a hell of a lot. I spend a lot of time on my own. I shut everybody off.
How much are you drinking? Like every day?
I drink a couple of bottles of whiskey a day.
A day?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's serious stuff.
That codependency, though, on alternative ways of escaping that horrendous feeling, I think that we were talking earlier on, depression is just such a terrifying experience to have. Some people will say, I'm feeling a bit depressed. You know when you're depressed. You might want to avoid it, but it's absolutely torturous for the person.
But did you know? You know, did you know, or did you just think, I'm a bit of a bad place at the moment?
Yeah.
Or did you realise it was a mental health issue? You were ill?
No, not at the time. That's the weird thing. I knew I was going through a tough time. I just thought, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. This is maybe just the way I am. Maybe I'm just a grumpy young man now. It's just the way things are going to be, and I can't look after myself. I can't do anything for myself. I kind of lost myself, which is the worst thing. I lost all forms of identity. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and I knew what I wanted to do. I thought that was impossible, and it just snowballs on top of you. You have a million problems on top of your shoulders.
Do you think, my friend, and I think a lot of people ask themselves this, is this chemical? Is this something going on that you have no control of? Is this about your environment? Is this about your circumstances? Is this about the hand that life has dealt you?
Yeah, well, it can happen to anybody. You know, I was in a far better situation than most people. There's always somebody more worse off, and there's some people who go through this all their lives, and that's the worst, and that's the scariest
But the main thing is, you see, people are tuning into TV today, and they're seeing you. What possibly could you...
Gorgeous.
People envy you.
Successful.
But you can be a multi-millionaire. It doesn't make any difference. Depression is an illness. It's like an illness that you can't control. And what you were just saying, it fits all of those categories. For some people, it might be that they are suffering from bipolar and need medication. For other people, it can be situational. So therefore, you have
But that's
the death
one
of
of
a
the,
loved
the
person.
issues. When you're going through it, you feel guilty for... If you want to put your hand up and say, oh, I got depression, I need some help, you go, oh people have been molested as kids.
But hold on, this went to such a degree that you contemplated suicide. You pulled yourself back from the brink. You were going to jump.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. That was the crunch moment for me, because you have suicidal thoughts throughout, but you never really think about it until you're actually faced with that moment of, you've got two choices here. And that was that was weird, because you don't feel anything. You don't think of your mum. I didn't think of my mum. I didn't think of anything that would kind of drag me up. I didn't think of anything worse to make me feel worse, because you lament in depression sometimes. You put on sad songs. I just felt absolutely nothing, and it was just two choices. And as soon as I made that choice in my head, and I just burst out crying, I just said, "What are you doing? What are you actually doing? You're not going to do it. You don't want to do this." And then I was faced with just one other choice, which is just get back onto this world and get your life back on track.
So was that your light bulb moment?
That was, yeah, exactly. It was 23rd of December, I think, 2009, and I was lucky it was Christmas a couple of days later, because I had all my family around me. And then with the new year coming, you can have a fresh start. And then the June after that, I was working here. I trained for a marathon. That really helped. A physical response. I got the endorphins running again. I learned to drive. That gave me independence. I kind of found myself. I realised how much I love rock music again. You know, all the things that you lose, I started to kind of recapture over a period. And it's still ongoing, you know, it's still something that you
And do you have things every
face.
day, Matt, that you do? I mean, you face, most people with depression say, you do face this every day. Do you have things that you do, music, or every day you...
Well, I
sure
count myself as lucky.
or something.
I'm a lucky bugger, because I know what makes me tick, and I know what makes me sad and what makes me happy. And I know it's not superficial things. I know it's not buying clothes. And I know it's not fancy cars. You know, my work doesn't define me. I love my job, but I can't rely on it. It's not something I can control. What I can control is going for a run. I do boxing. I box all the time. And I have a crisp sandwich and watch Friends, and that makes me really happy now. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
This is why I like him so much.
No, he does, he tweets about his crisp sandwich sometimes,
Exactly,
don't you? And how much he likes chocolate.
And Twitter's an amazing place. The response I've had, and thank you very much for everybody that's getting in contact, because this really has opened a whole new world to me, with people with problems, and people who I've known for years have struggled with depression, and it can happen to anybody.
You know, I never knew any of it, and I feel very embarrassed that I didn't know about it, because you're always smiling, you're always happy. And do you know, listening to you talk, have you ever seen that film It's a Wonderful Life, James Stewart, where he's ready to jump off the bridge on Christmas Eve? Look, a remake of that film starring Matt Johnson. Come here to give you a man.
Thank you very much.
Good boy.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Well, I feel better for talking about it, and I think that's my message.
And giving people a message out there that they can talk about it.
Talking is the way forward, and if this helps anybody, if it helps a wife or a girlfriend help their loved one who's struggling with it.
People often forget, don't they, about the family surrounding someone with depression. It's hard to deal with because you don't understand it a lot of the time.
Hugely difficult. You go through it and they go through it with you. But I do think that message that you're giving to people, which is, you know, you are really successful, it helps people to look at you and think there is a story after depression. There is success after a terrible time in our lives, and with some hope and with some work we can move forward and we can become incredibly successful.
And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make other people happy.
Oh, well, you make us happy every time you're in here. Thank you so much for talking about it with us.
Cheers.
And if Matt's story has affected you in any way, if you are looking for help and support, you're suffering from depression, you're worried about a family member and you don't know what to do to help them, we'll have lots of details of support groups and help all on our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You've made me forget what we're going to do next.
Is it a competition with Jeff?
No, it's a big Hollywood star coming in. No, it's not that. Kim Cattrall.
Kim Cattrall?
That'll make you happy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. She's coming in talking about her new play in the West End, and we're going to be chatting to her and her co-star right after this. Don't go away.